Greetings everyone, and welcome to the Alien Sightings and UFO tier list. This is essentially, I've got here 30 of some of the most famous UFO sightings and alien incidents that we know of, and I'm going to rank them. Essentially, the ranking criteria is going to be based on how believable I think they are, but there might be some that go against that rule. But without further ado, let's get started with this alien spacecraft here. It's a memorial / butt plug looking thing. The Kecksburg UFO incident was a fireball that ran across the sky, and it was actually reported in 6 different US states and in some provinces in Canada. Now, official reports said that it was a meteor, but no objects or fragments from a meteor were ever found in the forests where the witnesses saw the crash. NASA actually released a statement in 2005 saying that they had found metallic fragments in the area from a Russian satellite that had broken up upon re-entry to the atmosphere. However, Freedom of Information Act request wanted to see the documents from this incident. And unfortunately, it turns out that 2 full boxes of papers went missing in the 80s related to the incident. So, big red flags there. I'm actually going to go ahead and put this in the A tier straight away, just because missing documents from a Freedom of Information Act, were they really missing, or were there something that they didn't want us to see? And the fact that it was seen across so many different states, so many different reports of it. However, it could have been a satellite completely. So based on that criteria, I'd put it in B. However, it gets bumped up to an A for the missing documents. Next up, we've got the International Space Station light beam. Now, in 2016, NASA's live stream that anyone can watch, it showed this light beam entering Earth's atmosphere. And then all of a sudden, the feed was cut off. NASA said it was simply a technical error. That's why it was cut off. And the beam was probably just space debris. However, from the same stream later on, years later on, people spotted a similar light leaving Earth's atmosphere. This one is really compelling. You see at the end of this, there's like a gold beam of light at the end that is leaving the atmosphere quite clearly. It doesn't look like just space debris. This is quite a weird one. Also weird that, NASA cut the stream off. But I'm going to put this in B because it's just objects so far away. It really could be anything. It's really hard to tell what it is. Next up, these blue lights in the sky, we have the Levelland UFO incident. Now, in 1957, a small Texas town reported some egg-shaped UFOs. 2 farmers reported to the police and claimed that a bright blue light pulled up in front of their truck, and it completely made their truck die and cut out. Interestingly, there was a few other witnesses that reported a giant glowing egg over the sky in the area. And even more interestingly, when we consider today, which we're going to look at in a moment, the tic-tac shaped UFOs, egg-shaped, very similar shapes. But there's just not enough information on this one. It's such a small town. I'm going to put this in the C tier. Now we have some really exciting ones, which, spoiler alert, they probably both going to end up in S tier, if not A. I mean, think about this. But these are the confirmed Pentagon sightings here. We have the gimbal video and the go fast video. These were leaked before the official release, but in 2020 we saw the first time that the Pentagon broke silence, releasing these. They actually released 3 different UAP sightings. I think we're going to look at another one in a moment.
That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating.
But you just watch these videos. I'm sure if you're watching this video and you're into UFOs, you've seen these videos. They're super exciting in the UFO community when these were released. Now, you watch these videos and it's the excitement from the pilots that really gets me, especially in the go fast one.
Roger, Roger. Oh, go ahead! Woohoo! Roger, there's troubleshooting as soon as I get... Are you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that.
Super exciting. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put both of these in S tier. They come together as a pair. Yeah, super cool that the government released these, and even they have no explanation for it. shapes, and skeptics have tried to say, oh, it's a diving bird, and yeah, they've tried to be skeptical about it, but I'm not so sure, you know, not so sure. Next up, we have the Black Knight satellite. Now, this is very popular in the UFO community. Some say that this satellite has been orbiting Earth for 13,000 years. It was found orbiting Earth in 1954, and that was before we actually launched these satellites into space. It was 3 years before, in fact. So why was it there? People say it's claiming intelligence for an alien race, and it's spying on us. That would be pretty scary. This theory became popular again in 1998 after NASA released this photo that I'm actually using on the tier list here. Now, many say it's just space debris, but maybe it is an alien satellite spying on us. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the C tier. It's a really cool looking object. But again, the image was released by NASA. I do feel like maybe if it was an alien satellite, NASA would maybe know, and they wouldn't just straight up release an image of it. It's a really cool image though. So yeah, that sits in the C tier for me. Next up, we have the Roswell incident. In 1947, a rancher found this debris in his ranch in New Mexico. Upon reporting it to the government, the Army did a press release saying it was a flying disc. But this was quickly redacted, and they said, no, it was just a weather balloon. Nothing to be alarmed about here. It's very famous amongst the conspiracy community, and it actually has developed into a far-fetched theory now, with a supposed alien body also being found at the site, and that conspiracy theory goes on quite far. I'm not actually a big fan. I'm hesitant to put it in the D tier, but it's kind of fun. I'm going to leave it in the C tier for now. These might change. Next up, this triangle of light, we have the Lubbock lights. Now, a number of witnesses, including 3 professors teaching at the Texas Tech College, reported these V-shaped lights in the sky. One witness even grabbed some photos. Maybe one of the greatest photos we have, considering that there's numerous witnesses as well, meaning these photos probably aren't fake. However, the government claimed that it was just an easily explainable natural phenomenon, nothing to be alarmed about. But they never actually told us what that natural phenomenon was. So I think, personally, this is a UFO. And the fact that I'm going to put it in the A tier, obviously you can't say. Maybe it is a completely natural phenomena. I'm not a scientist. I don't know every natural phenomena that can happen in space. I'm sure there's some weird stuff that only happens once in a millennia. However, the fact that many people reported it and there's these epic photos, it's going to end up in the A tier for me. Next up, we have the Little Green Man attack. Now, in 1955, a small town in Kentucky, the Sutton family, they claimed to have a shootout which lasted for hours with little green men. They shot through windows and door screens but failed to catch any bodies. After reporting it to the police, the officials said the incident was just a complete hoax.
All of a sudden, there comes one as big as you can be. Billy Ray fires at it. JC shoots off around to the front of the house because one of them's peeking in the window, and they're just having a battle. The darn little things get shot, they drop, roll away, and then they come back.
Yeah, come on, JC, come on, boy.
They shot holes in their windows and through their door screens for nothing. Skeptics say that they probably saw owls in the trees. However, I think they were probably just lying. Next up, we have another Air Force video. This one is from Mexico, actually. It was filmed with the onboard cameras from the jets, just like the Go Fast and the Gimbal video were. And it was from 2004. The pilot spotted what they thought was UFOs. Skeptics have said that these lights that you see in the distance here, they could be a number of things, but the pilots were super sure that they were trailing these UFOs and they were getting further away, and at one point they were actually following the pilots. There's no way of knowing for sure, but like I said, skeptics have said that these could be a number of things, from ball lightning to faraway oil rigs. I'm not too convinced by these. These aren't as impressive as the UFO videos, the gimbal and the go fast video. I'm actually going to put these in the B tier because they're just lights to me. It's pretty interesting that they're filmed from a jet, and you know, pilots are seen as a pretty credible source, but it's nothing too amazing for me. Next up, we have the Westall UFO incidents. Now, in Melbourne, Australia in 1966, over 200 witnesses at a school consisting of teachers and children reported seeing a UFO land. To this day, it's the most witnessed daylight UFO sighting in history. After reporting it, the military stressed to the staff and the children they shouldn't talk to the media about this and they should keep it hush. Now, this one's pretty cool. It's really unfortunate that we don't have any proof. I imagine if people had smartphones in the 60s, everyone would be whipping their phones out, and this video would probably be all over TikTok. I'm going to put this in the A tier just for the fact that there's so many witnesses to this. If there was pictures to go with it, this would definitely end up in the S tier. But yeah, the fact that there's so many witnesses and the fact that the government also said, look, that we don't mention this to the media, makes me think that maybe they knew something was going on. Next up, we have the STS-75 tether incidents. Yes, these are pretty much all incidents. The NASA mission should have been a simple launch, leaving a satellite in orbit. However, as the satellite was released, the tether snapped, and some have speculated this footage shows curious visitors buzzing around the satellite. Now, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. It's kind of unclear. I'm going to put this in the D tier just because this one's so confusing to me. These lights could be anything. Yeah, maybe they are UFOs visiting the satellite, being like, oh, visiting the tether. Oh, what is this? But to me, it just, I don't know. Again, it's very similar to the International Space Station light beam. I don't really know what I'm looking at. Not that I know what I'm looking at in any of these, if I'm honest. But it's not as conclusive as an orb flying through the sky. In 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving home after a romantic escape when they found themselves abducted by aliens. They reported the incident to the government, who ran a series of trials on them, including hypnotherapy, to try and get them to retell the incident, and their story stayed pretty consistent until they died. This was one of the first UFO abduction stories, really, and probably inspired many more that might be hoaxes. Now, there was never really any proof, but I'm going to put this in the A tier just because it's so legendary. They were a first of their kind, and their daughter actually fights in the UFC, and I love the UFC, so shout out Angela Hill.
Angela Overkill Hill!
The Rendlesham Forest incident. Now, this is the only one actually from my country, the Great United Kingdom, England to be exact. And in the 1980s, a security patrol at a military base in Suffolk, England, spotted a series of lights landing in Rendlesham Forest. Upon walking towards the site, the crew's radio equipment would fail, and the lights would suddenly dart away. In the patrol was Captain Charles Holt, who went on record to say that the event was definitely extraterrestrial, and eventually, even the government tried to cover it up when he tried to report it. Now, this is a really interesting one because we have multiple guys reporting it together, and they're military sources, which for some reason makes them more credible. But it is a small group, and it was never reported by anyone else in the area. Even though it's quite an isolated area, I'm going to put this in the B tier. Next up, we have the videos of the triangle craft above the USS Russell. This clip was leaked by Jeremy Corbell, and it was filmed by someone on board the USS Russell in 2015. The Pentagon have confirmed that the footage is real and say that the craft is not US or foreign-owned aircraft, and is believed to be tracking the Navy's movement. Now, this one is pretty wild because I don't know what it was recorded on, whether it's a camcorder or a mobile phone, but it's not it's not from these satellite images like from a from the jets on board cameras. I'm going to put this in the S tier. As soon as it was kind of confirmed by the government, I don't know, for some people it makes them more suspicious, but for me, they could deny it and say, no, this is false, this is fake. And the interview with the guy that recorded it, Commander David Faber, is really interesting on Joe Rogan. If you haven't seen it, thoroughly recommend it. And just listening to him, he doesn't sound like he's full of bullshit. So this goes in the S tier for me. Next, we have the Battle of LA. In February 1942, 3 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the city of LA sounded its air raid sirens after fear of another attack. Through the night, 1,400 shells were fired into the skies, ending 5 US citizens dead. It was reported just a false alarm. However, this LA Times photo appears to show a spotlight seeking out a UFO. Maybe it was a UFO that all these shells were firing at, and it wasn't really the Japanese. But again, I'm not so sure about this one. I think I'm going to put this in the C tier. It's super inconclusive what they're actually firing at. This photo is kind of interesting. Do you know what? I'm going to move to the B tier. What on earth would this be? I doubt it's fake. I doubt the LA Times would fake a photo. You can clearly see the spotlights are looking at something and firing at something. And to fire that many shells in one night makes me think maybe it was something that was just completely unaffected by the shells, and they kept firing. This one is maybe one of my favorites. I doubt it's going to end up in the S tier, but this one's crazy, and I'd never heard of it before researching this. It's the McMinnville UFO photos. Now, in the 1950s, Evelyn Trutt noticed a strange object circling their farm in Oregon. She told her husband, who managed to grab a camera and get these photos. These photos are very debated, and they've been analysed over and over again. But fake or real, we'll probably never know. But in a time before Photoshop, they're pretty good fakes if they have been faked. I'm actually going to put this... I'm going to put this in the A tier. Just because the photos are amazing if they are real. And I may be being a bit ignorant, but I don't understand how they would have been faked. I'm sure there was a way to do it back then. Double exposures on film, maybe, perhaps. However, yeah, these photos to me, actually, that is probably exactly how it was done, and it'd be very easy to do something in the sky. Just for that reason, it now gets moved down to a B. But either way, cool photos, even if they are fake. Very cool photo. Some more triangular lights next. The Phoenix lights. In 1997, these V-shaped lights were once again spotted over Phoenix. However, footage is low quality and witnesses are quite few and far between. However, much more documented are these 5 big lights flying in formation, kind of in a triangular shape too. Now, yeah, super interesting. There was quite a few witnesses, and again, maybe it's the same phenomena as the Lubbock lights, but the photos are pretty cool. I can't see how this would be a natural phenomena to me. I suppose if I put the Lubbock lights in A, I kind of have to put this one in A too. Next up, we have the Belgian UFO wave. In November 1989, many people in Belgium reported V-shaped or triangular-shaped UFOs with lights below. Reports would keep coming up until about March 1990, when someone got this photo. However, the photographer of this photo has come out and confirmed it was a complete hoax, and most people put all the reports down to simply one report being reported in the media, and people just copycat reporting. I'm going to put this down in the D tier, simply because the photo was confirmed fake, and I think it probably was the case of people just jumping on a bandwagon here. Next up, we have Japanese Airlines Flight 1628. While flying over Alaska on a flight from Tokyo to Paris in 1986, all the crew and the pilot described balls of bright lights circling the plane. The pilot has come out and said that these balls were flying as if there was no such thing as gravity. Now, this one's really interesting because, again, it's quite a high credible source. A pilot, you'd say he has no need to lie, and the whole crew corroborate the story. Unfortunately, again, there was no cameras. No one thought of just getting a camera and snapping photos, but I suppose you didn't always have a camera handy in 1986. It's so easy to think just snap a photo nowadays when we all walk around with cameras in our pockets. The Kenneth Arnold UFO sighting. In 1947, around the same time as the Roswell incident, private pilot Kenneth Arnold reported discs starting around at 1,200 miles an hour. Now, while he was flying over Washington Mount Rainier, his description coined the term flying saucer. The Air Force investigated and they simply put it down to a mirage, but others weren't convinced as the FBI continued to investigate. This one's pretty legendary. It coined the term flying saucer. But again, I'm going to put this down to a C. How would he know they're flying at 1,200 miles an hour? And I guess he was probably flying quite fast, therefore it easily could have been a mirage, reflections off a river or whatnot. Next is another pilot sighting, the Mantle UFO incident. It was actually 6 months after the Kenneth Arnold sightings, where pilot Thomas F. Mantle spotted a UFO in the skies. This time, it was in Kentucky. Witnesses claimed seeing a 250-meter saucer in the sky. Now, Thomas Mantle, along with 2 other pilots, went on to chase the flying saucer. After reaching great altitudes, the other 2 pilots backed down. However, Mantle continued his pursuit, resulting in him blacking out at 25,000 feet and his plane spiraling down to the ground and unfortunately killing the man. Now, I want to put this one quite high up on the list just because a man died in his efforts to chase a UFO. Now, I think if it was a figment of imagination, a mirage, anything else, you wouldn't go to those efforts to chase it and try and find out what this unknown flying object was. So I am actually going to put him in the A tier because that's such a mystery, and the other pilots backing out makes me think, well, yeah, it was probably flying so fast they thought, oh, we've got no chance. But this one guy clearly thought that he could have a chance and wanted to get to the bottom of the mystery. The Washington DC flap, also known as the Invasion of Washington, was for a period of 2 weeks in July 1952. There was a number of UFO sightings over the US Capitol. There were strange radar blips to orange lights, but to calm the public, the government claimed that it was all just weather phenomena. But no one really took this seriously. Now, this one, there's not much online about this, which maybe makes me think maybe the government has done information to scrub information on it. And I mean, if there were aliens, maybe it would make sense that they would come to the US Capitol and do some dealings with the president. Perhaps that's what they were here to do. But this is going to end up in the C tier for me. There's just not that much evidence. The Gorgon dogfight. Now, George Gorman was an American Air Force pilot, and he was flying through the skies in North Dakota, where in 1948, he noticed a blinking light approaching. He radioed air traffic control to find out if anyone was in the skies with him, and after learning that he was supposed to be in the skies alone, he decided to engage with the aircraft, and a dog sight would ensue.
Red 6 standing by.
George claimed the craft would effortlessly avoid him, eventually darting vertically right up into the skies. I'm actually going to end up putting this in the D tier. Yeah, he saw something and got into a dogfight or something, but this was just after World War II. Maybe George was just excited for some action and wanted to fake a dogfight or make this up completely, fire some bullets and claim he saw something. I don't know. Yeah, there isn't too much weight to this one for me. We have another very famous one next, the Travis Walton abduction, that actually inspired the movie Fire in the Sky. Travis Walton claims that while working as a logger in 1975, he, along with 6 other co-workers, saw a saucer-shaped object hovering just above the ground. As they approached the object, a beam of light came from the craft, knocking him unconscious. He awoke in a hospital-like room, being observed by short, bald creatures, but doesn't remember much else. He was missing for 5 days and 6 hours, and authority used scent dogs and helicopters to try and find him during that time. He woke up on a highway confused and then notified authorities, Most people say his story's a hoax, but the interview he gave on Joe Rogan was pretty compelling to me. This one's interesting because he has witnesses, and the witnesses didn't really come out and speak about it for a while, but since they have come out and they said they just wanted to get on with their lives, that's why they didn't speak about it, and now they're speaking about it. Maybe they've only just come out because the whole thing's a lie and it's taking a while for Travis to find people that are willing to lie for him and maybe pay them. I'm going to put this in B because Travis Walton gives a quite telling account on the Joe Rogan Experience. It doesn't seem like he's lying, but you know, there's good lies out there. This little cute drawing was drawn by a child who experienced the Zimbabwe alien invasion. In 1994, around 60 students reported a strange being coming and communicating with them. They all claimed to see little men come out of ships, and they all told the kids to protect the environment. Very wholesome aliens, these aliens. Parents would call up the school the following day asking what the hell happened to their children and why they were reporting seeing aliens. A psychologist would come from the US and spoke to all the children to evaluate them. No one's ever managed to get to the bottom of this story. Now, this one's really interesting. I like it. I feel like this large of a group of children, they don't really have anything to lie about, unless maybe one child turned around and said, "Oh, I saw an alien," and convinced all the other kids that they saw an alien. Maybe. And you know, children's accounts are mostly unreliable. So I'm going to put it in the B tier. I'm going to leave it there. But it's quite a cool story nonetheless. Next up, we had this video I found on YouTube, the Paris UFO. Not much is known about this apart from this footage, so I'm actually going to just go ahead and put this down as straight up fake. It just looks too good to be true. Yeah, After Effects job, I reckon. Now we have more footage from an aircraft, the Aguilda airport incident. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Agadila, maybe? That's probably the better pronunciation. In 2013, a US border protection aircraft filmed this video of a low-flying object traveling at more than 100 miles per hour, sometimes at tree level. Now, the object gave absolutely no signal to air traffic controllers, and it ended up delaying some commercial flights at the Puerto Rican airport. I feel like I have to put this in the S tier just because it's confirmed by the government, it's filmed from a reliable source, it's tracking camera, it's going 100 miles per hour at tree level. It doesn't make sense, this footage. So for that reason, I have to put it here with the S tier. If we're going by what's believable here, it just about makes it to the S tier for me. Now we have this man, very famous in the UFO community, Bob Lazar. Of course, this wouldn't be a UFO video if I didn't mention him. Bob, if you didn't know, this is the quick version. Bob claims to have worked at Area 51 and he was back engineering spacecrafts. His story is very compelling, and the fact that the government have gone out their way so many times to try and drag his name through the mud, along with his story remaining consistent for a number of years, makes him pretty believable in my eyes. But of course, I can't say for sure. He seems believable. Again, on the Joe Rogan Experience, he gives a great interview, and in the Netflix documentary, it's great, done by Jeremy Corbell. I'm tempted to put Bob Lazar in the S tier. However, he's not as believable as these literal things we're looking at here, so he ends up in the A tier for me. And last but not least, maybe it is least, we have the Skinwalker Ranch. Again, another very famous one here. Skinwalker Ranch is so famous due to its 50 years of history from paranormal and UFO activity, such as vanishing and mutilated cattle, UFO sightings, animals that had bright red eyes and would be unscathed by bullet fire, and strange magnetic fields. In 96, a multi-millionaire, Robert Bigelow, actually bought the ranch due to his interest in conspiracy theories and the supernatural. He hired scientists to record data on the ranch, and in their several years studying, no sufficient evidence was found. It's since become a bit of a meme, for the History Channel show The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch in which they make wild statements, can't prove them, and then continue to make more wild statements. However, they have filmed orbs in the sky and found some extremely rare metal alloys on the site, so there is kind of some evidence, but the wild claims that they mix in just makes it pretty incredible for me. I'm going to put it in the C tier. It gets bumped up for being a little bit legendary. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I'd maybe move the Australian school incident down, just with the African school incident. You know, you don't want the top marks to be too cluttered up there, but I'm pretty happy with that. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see some more information on any of these, let me know as well, and I'll go into more detail in a separate video.